Hey guys, back with another speeder, this time for Path of Exile. I had a lot of requests for this game since I made the Diablo 4 speeder, since the games are pretty similar. So this is going to be mainly a macro and botting tool. You'll be able to have speeder automate your entire combat rotation, automatically use all your flasks, and do lots of other things as well. Um, so if you're familiar with the Diablo speeder, it works pretty similarly to that. So we have our macro file on the left side of the screen. This is going to be where you create your macros and where you tell Speeder how you want it to automate your combat rotation and anything else that you would want to automate. My combat rotation I'm going to use in the video is this macro here. So this is the virtual key code of the key you want to activate the macro. 114 is the F3 key. So when I press F3, this macro is going to activate. The first line of the macro checks for your HP. So if my HP is below 50%, it's going to check to see if I have 7 charges left of my Life 1 flask, which is the flask that you start the game with, essentially. If I do, it's going to check to see if the timer for Life Timer is expired. If it is, it's going to set that timer back to 2000 milliseconds. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to spam the flask. If you don't do this, Speeder will potentially press the flask key twice and use the flask twice, so you do want a timer here. And then this is just a debug statement that outputs that text to the console. It doesn't actually do anything, so you don't need it if you don't want it. And then this is going to hold down the number 1 key on the keyboard. 49 is the virtual key code for the 1 key on the keyboard. So it's going to hold down the 1 key because that is the key for our flask, our life flask ability, or flask. And then it's going to call this function here, which is just this right here. So this function is right here. And this function, all it does is just waits for a random time between 200 and 300 milliseconds, just to avoid macro detection. So anytime you hold down a key, you want to randomize that delay a little bit, so you're not always pressing the keys at the same time. And then it's going to release that key. So it's going to press it, it's going to wait 200 to 300 milliseconds, and then it's going to release the 1 key. And that's just to press our life flask. And then keys 2 is the same exact thing, except we're checking for our mana flask instead of the life flask. So instead of pressing the 1 key, we're going to press the 4 key because my mana flask is in the 4th slot. Other than that, it's the same thing. And this is just a distance checker here. CD stands for check distance. This is just to make sure that you're only targeting things that are on the screen so that Speeder isn't trying to attack stuff that is off screen if your cursor is off the screen. And then these keys 4 through 6 are our attack abilities. So the keys 4 is going to check if you are targeting a mob. If you are targeting a mob, it's going to check to see if there are at least 2 mobs within 300 distance of the cursor. If there are, it's going to check to see if your MP is above 50%. If it is, it's going to check to see if this timer is expired. If the timer is expired, it's going to reset that timer to 3000 milliseconds. Again, this is so that Speeder is not spamming this ability. And I don't want it to spam this ability in particular because it's an AoE ability. and it's a damage over time ability as well, so there's no point in using it multiple times in a row. So I want Speeder to wait 3,000 milliseconds before it uses it a second time. And then it's going to press the actual key here, which is right click. 2 is the virtual key code for right click. So it's going to hold down right click for that 200 to 300 milliseconds, and then it's going to release it. Debug statements will show up in the console, so you'll be able to see what Speeder is trying to do as I'm going around killing stuff. Okay, so let me shrink this window here. Okay, and I'm just going to go around, and when I target something, so it's going to use poison arrow here because there are multiple mobs grouped together. Same idea here. You can see when there's so yeah, it's not super complicated to set up. I'll actually show you the so I'm just spamming attacks now, and you can see it automatically used my mana flask there as soon as my MP dropped below half. So there we go. Oh, I guess I didn't mention the field of view hack, but yeah, I have the field of view hack on right now, in case you didn't notice. So you can zoom out farther than you should be able to. That's a pretty standard hack for this game though. So okay, I think that is it for real this time. Again, let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.